Good morning or good afternoon to all my little cougar artists out there. Let me start by saying we're going to have to shift gears. We're going to have to switch things up a little bit, do things differently in art class. But as Mr. Bodett would say, you got to be flexible. So the way that we're going to do art class for a while at least is I'm going to be teaching all of my art lessons through video presentations like this one, and you're going to follow along and do your artwork as you watch the video. Now, the good news is that while you're doing the artwork, I'm also going to be in the room with you physically, at least standing in the doorway to make sure that everything goes well. So you're going to have two Mr. G's with you each day that you have art. I'm so happy for you guys. When I think of all the children throughout the world who have no Mr. G's in their life and you have two, how lucky are you? So with that being said, if you're ready, I'm ready. Mr. G, are you ready? Well, then let's get started. We're going to draw a picture together today using the letters capital O, capital D, and capital C. And we're going to draw a picture of something that begins with each of these letters. We're going to draw an ocean-dwelling creature. O is for ocean, D is for dwelling, and C is for creature. But before we do that, we should first talk a little bit about what an ocean-dwelling creature is. Well, ocean, you know what that is. That's the sea. That's sort of like the Lake Champlain right beside us, except much, much bigger. In fact, most of the planet that we live on is covered by the oceans. If you were to look at planet Earth from outer space, over 70% of the world is covered by oceans. So there's an awful lot of ocean. Dwelling is another word for living. So you could say that you live in the United States, you live in Rouses Point, you live in your house, or you could say that you dwell in your house. You dwell in the United States, or you dwell in Rouses Point. And creature is just another word for animal. So we're drawing an ocean-dwelling creature, or an animal that lives in the water. And we're going to get started by drawing right here on the letter C. And I'm going to make another curve inside the letter C that starts right at the top and ends right at the other end of the letter C, just like this. So I made another curve, or a smaller letter C, right here. So go ahead and take a minute, take a look at where it starts and where it ends. It starts right at the top of the letter C, and it ends right here at the end of the letter C. Take a minute now to draw a curved line that begins at the top of the letter C and goes to the bottom of the letter C. And you want it to be kind of fat in the middle and small at the end. Go ahead and draw that. When you have that done, we're going to also go to the bottom of the letter D. Maybe we'll make it even better. We had good luck starting with the letter C, so we'll continue with that. We're going to go from the middle of the letter C. So here's our curve, our big curve. We're going to go right in the middle, right here. And we're going to go all the way to the top of the O with one big curve that goes like this. One big curve. Think about where it starts and where it stops. It starts right here at the middle of the letter C, and it's a nice smooth curve that goes all the way to the top of our O. So if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and draw a curved line that goes from the C all the way to the top of the O with a nice smooth curved line. Take a minute to do that. If you can, try to draw lightly. That way, if you make a mistake or if there's any kind of changes that you want to make, you can fix it as you go. After you have this curve and then the big curve done, we're going to go to the middle of the bottom of the letter O. Here's our letter O. And right from the bottom, I'm going to go straight out. And I'm going to go about halfway to the end of the paper. Here's my letter O. And where do I start? Right at the bottom. Not the top, not in the middle, not near the bottom, right at the bottom. So find the bottom of the letter O, and I'm going straight across until I get about halfway. So if this is all the way to the end of my paper, I'm only going about halfway, and then I'm stopping. It's just a straight line that goes from the bottom of the letter O, bottom of this top circle, about halfway. From there, I'm going to go with a little line that's only about as big as the tip of my finger. Now, it's bigger on mine because I'm working with a big piece of paper. But here's that straight line that I just drew. And from there, I'm going straight up just a little bit. Again, probably about as big as my finger. Not too far up. If you haven't drawn that line yet, go ahead and draw it now. Now from here, I'm going to go to the top of my circle. But I'm not going to go with a straight line. I'm going to make it curve like this. It's the top of that line that I just made. And it curves up until it meets the front of my circle. Can you tell what sea creature we're drawing yet? I bet some of you have figured it out. But if not, we'll keep going. Right in the middle of this circle, see how we still have a circle right here? I'm going to draw another circle so that it looks like kind of like a donut, doesn't it? So go ahead and draw a circle, probably about as big as a penny. So if you can imagine in your mind how big a penny is, that's about how big I'm making that circle. Go ahead and draw that circle right there. Our next step, after we've drawn this circle, is we're going to do something now on the letter D. Remember back when we started, we said we had the letter O, the letter C, and the letter D. Well, we haven't done anything yet with the letter D, so we're going to now. I'm going to start right in the middle of my letter D, and I'm going to go straight back like this, just with a straight line right there. Start in the middle of my letter D. So put your finger right on the middle of the letter D and draw a line that goes straight back. It actually goes outside the letter D, but it doesn't go quite to that big curve that we drew. So go ahead and take your pencil and draw from the middle of the D, and we're going to go straight back. And if yours doesn't look exactly like mine, that's okay. Just do the best you can. And remember that I'm just showing you a guide. If yours isn't exactly like mine, that's okay. You might even decide that you want to make yours on purpose completely different than mine, and that's okay too. After I have this straight line, I'm going to draw another straight line that starts at the same spot. Here's where we started the line. I'm going to make another one, and this time it's going to go down to the corner of my D, but it's going to go a little bit farther. See, I went from here, I went to the corner of my D, but I went a little bit farther. Started right in the middle of my D, and I keep going a little bit farther. If you've done that, we're going to connect this shape right here and turn it into a triangle. I'm going to make a curved line. If yours is straight, that's okay. I'm going to make mine a little bit curved. And when I've done that, I've got just about everything that I need to draw, except the details for my ocean-dwelling creature. Can you tell what it is? That's right. It's a seahorse. And there's a little bit more that we can do to our seahorse. Let's see, I'm going to draw a little line right here just to connect his head to his body. I'm going to do the same thing right here. I'm going to connect his tail to his body. And now I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase some of the lines that I don't need. I don't need this line right here. And I don't need this line right here. So take a minute. If you have an eraser, erase this part right here. This is his long, skinny nose. So that line that shows where the letter O ended, we don't really need it because we want his whole head to look like this. In fact, we can erase this line if we want to. And we can erase this part of the letter C. I'm also going to erase this line right here because I don't need this anymore. That's the bottom of my letter D. So take just a minute to erase this line and the line inside the triangle and the bottom of the letter D. And if you don't erase them completely, or if you don't erase them at all, that's okay. I'm just doing it to make everything look a little bit clearer. Now I'm going to take this line right here, the line that goes up and down. See if you can find it on your paper, and I'm going to make it continue right here, and I'm going to have a curve like this. This is just a detail that I like. But you don't have to put it if you don't want to. Let's think about some other details that we can put. I like to put maybe 2 or 3 lines in the middle of this triangle to make that triangle look like a little flipper fin. And it's just a tiny little fin, but I start right at the same point and I drew 3 lines. Maybe you just want to draw 2, maybe you want to draw 4, whatever you think looks right. But I'm trying to make it look like his little fin. So go ahead and do that now, if you haven't done it yet. I'm going to give him just a little smile right here, not a big smile, just a little curve right here, maybe a little line right there, just to give him a little friendly smile. I like the way that detail looks. Show a little bit of his chin and his jaw right here. So go ahead and give your seahorse a little smile if you haven't yet. I'm going to draw a little curved line right here, just a little circle inside my circle. And this is the colored part of his eye. I'm going to give him a little eyebrow. And if you want to, you can give your seahorse a little eyebrow. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. It's optional. Optional means you have a choice. On top of his head, I want to give a little decoration just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to start right here at the front of his head, and I'm going to go up with a line that's a little bit of a curve, but it's mostly straight. It's right at the front of his head. So here is his head right here. And from the front of his head, I go straight up almost to the top of his paper with a line that's almost straight, but it's got a little bit of a curve to it. Now from there, I'm going to go back with another curve. And I'm going to draw 2 or 3 lines like I did with my fin right here. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you like the way this looks, go ahead and put it on. If you don't want to put it on, you don't have to. That's another one of those options. And I'm going to make a little curve in between each one of those little lines that I drew. And the last thing I'm going to do, I like the way these little frills on top of his head look. So I'm going to do the same thing on the back. I'm going to make another curve just like this. And I'm going to draw a few more lines just like I did on the top of his head and just like I did with his fin. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now maybe you want to do 10, maybe you want to do 5, maybe you want to do 3. Whatever you think looks right, that's okay. And between each one, I'm drawing one of these curves to show the little frill shape on his back. Now, as I've been working on this picture, I keep saying his. Like my seahorse is a boy. But if you want your seahorse to be a girl, you can give your seahorse some eyelashes. I don't think seahorses really have eyelashes. But if you think that makes it look a little cuter or a little prettier, then go ahead and do that. And when you're done, I think our seahorse is just about finished, except for adding some color. So I'm going to start with my marker. And if you have a black marker, to make your picture pop out a little bit more, give it a little bit more oomph, I'm going to take my black marker and I'm going to very carefully go over all the pencil lines that I drew. And you can see already how those lines are starting to pop out even more. If we like our lines, and I think we should, then we want to make sure that people can see them. So if you haven't started yet, go ahead and take your black marker, and you don't have to color anything in with your black marker. Just go over your lines, and then we'll take some colors, and we'll color our seahorse any way that you want. It can be blue and orange. She can be pink and purple. It can be a boy, it can be a girl. Whatever you want to do to make your seahorse look the way that you want it to look, that's what you should do. And if there's any kind of details that you want to add to your seahorse that I didn't think of, well, you should do that also. If you want to draw other little sea creatures in the water, other ocean dwelling creatures, a little fish, a little mermaid, a little octopus, a little SpongeBob. Whatever you think is going to make your picture look even neater, that's what you should do. Now I'm going to stop right now. Keep working on your picture, going over your lines with a black marker, taking out your crayons, and coloring your sea fish, or pardon, your seahorse, because that's what I'm going to do. And then when we're all done, we can share what we've drawn. So let's start coloring right now. Well, my ocean-dwelling creature is all finished and in full color. I even gave her polka dots. And whatever you want to do, whether it's polka dots or stripes or lots of different colors, whatever you do to make your seahorse more personal, more of an expression of your artistic personality, that's what you should do. I even gave a name to my seahorse. She's Lolly. And maybe if you gave a name to your seahorse at the end of class, when we share all the drawings together, you can not only show us what your seahorse looks like, you can tell us what your seahorse is named. I hope you enjoy working on your ocean-dwelling creature. I hope that you look forward to our next drawing that we work on together. And in the meantime, stay creative, stay safe, stay cougar strong. We'll see you soon.